Welcome back to the lab, robots. This is going to be part 3 of building an Ubuntu AI based server from scratch. If you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, I suggest that you go take a look at those and get caught up to where we're at. To recap though, we left off with the last video of getting local AI up and running so that we had an inference server that we could talk to either via its UI, through your browser, or use it as an API endpoint for many other apps or integrations or however you want to go through it. We today are going to expand upon that, and I did go ahead and add the bootstrap guide to the repo so you can go check out the repo. This is basically what the rest of the video is going to follow. I will put the link down below in the description to make it easy for you guys. So we have bootstrapped our Ubuntu server. We have gotten local AI up and running with Docker Compose to make it easy on us. We are going to go into a few other or several other tools today that you should have in your tool set, at least as you're getting up to learn these things. One of them is ComfyUI. A lot of people have heard about ComfyUI. That is basically going to be used for really high-level image and video generation. Open WebUI. Open WebUI is another nice UIs that you can chat with, store your own documents, set it up for integrations, and run it in your own home lab very easily. Flowise. Flowise is one of my favorite pieces of software, which is used to develop workflows or agents or anything around AI. That is going to need Postgres, so we have Postgres in here. And then we have n8n, which is very, very similar to Flowise, but also different. Again, it's going to be for building out AI-based workflows and using it for automations. ChromaDB. ChromaDB is a very large vector store that you can use for, say, embeddings or vector search or anything like that. This is just to get you started, as several competitors out there, but this will get you started. You'll need it behind the scenes for, say, like Flowise or n8n. Unstructured API. This is a newer project that I've found recently and have started to work with, but it's very good at doing chunking for unstructured documents. So you might want to check that out. Again, that will go hand in hand with our Flowise and our n8n and just having a full ability to run full-on AI workflows in our home lab. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is teach you guys how to get connected through SSH, as you can see I am right here, to that server, and then we'll continue on with that. Alright, one thing is let's get our VS Code set up so that we can use or connect to that machine and do development from a remote machine on that server for us. Alright, if you're not familiar with VS Code, I suggest you go check it out. It's one of the best editors that I have seen out there, period, and I use it on a daily basis, so this is one of the things in my toolkit. And one of the big things we want to do is get set up so that we can use, say, continue to do code completion inside VS Code, but also so that we can SSH to that machine and run everything through VS Code and make it easy. So the first thing that you want to do is actually set up SSH. You want to get the Microsoft Remote SSH extensions and get them installed. I've already got it all installed so that we're not going to worry about that. And then you can see this little button that shows up after you get it installed down here, open a remote window at the bottom left. We're going to go ahead and say connect to host, our IP address of that machine. So we're going to add that. So we can do SSH Ubuntu at 10.1.245. Go ahead and edit to my config. And then we should be able to select that. Connect to host. 10.1.1.245 is our IP address. Now that is opening up a window and installing the VS Code server on that machine. So you can see we are now connected over there. And if I do this and say open folder, I can actually see all of the files and everything that we were working on that machine. So if I go over and select the RoboTF AI Suite that we were working out of for those Docker Compose files, yes, trust all the authors. You can see that that will bring it right up for me. And then if you have your integrated terminal installed, which I suggest that you do, we can bring it up and get immediate terminal access straight on that machine. So that will allow us to do a lot easier work, and we can turn it on and off and make adjustments to our files right there. Hopefully that was a bit of help. Let's move on. Catching up from where we were in the last video, we had local AI running. You can access it through a browser. We can see it running with Docker PS. I have made a couple of changes just so that I can show you guys some things, and then a ton of updates to the code, as you guys can see off to the side. So the first thing, if you already have this repo check out, just make sure you do a git pull origin main to pull from my main branch, and make sure that you're already up to date so that you have all of this new code. We do have local AI running in the background. I did change some things though. So in this Docker Compose, we are now adding in a network, and that will be so all of this stuff can talk to each other in the back end as needed, and you can see that being set up down here. And that will be set up and owned by local AI, because pretty much everything else I'm going to show you today will rely on local AI to be running. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I also shut down the machine, and I threw in another GPU, an NVIDIA 4070 Ti Super. So we can see that, just so that I can show you guys what multi-GPU setups look like in this case of all these Docker Compose files, and how to actually control them. So now we have those two GPUs showing up in NVIDIA SMI on this Ash node that we are working on. As you guys saw before, we added this in before, which is just telling it to use GPU ID 0. And you can see for GPU ID 0 right here would be that 4060, or always the first GPU you have exposed. The next one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So if we do a make local AI exec, we would expect to only be able to see that 4060. So let's go ahead and do that now that we're on the container, just so you guys get an idea of what we're doing here. Let me bring that up so we can see it a little bit better. And you can see the local AI container can only see that 4060 Ti. Okay, let's go ahead and do an exit out of the container and do a make local AI down, so that we can shut local AI down and actually change this. Now, if you have multiple cards, you can simply do 0, 1 for, like, say 2 cards, or if you had 3 cards, 2, and then keep on going down the line. That's always going to line up with the NVIDIA GPU ID over here. Or if you want to just pass in all your cards to a single container, you can simply just type all. So let's hit all and hit save, and let's go ahead and start local AI back up and do a local AI exec now. NVIDIA -SMI, and now you can see we can see all the cards that are on the system. So it's really that easy to control what container has what access to what GPU. So if you want to split your system, which we're about to do just so that I can show you guys, and dedicate a card just to ComfyUI, or dedicate a card to a simply local AI, or give local AI a bunch of cards but ComfyUI only 1 card, it's really easy to do that. So we're going to go ahead and exit back out of here, and we're going to give local AI that 4070. So again, let's do make local AI down, just to shut it down, and we'll set it to ID 1. And again, let's start it back up. Make local AI up. So now that we have local AI up, and just to show you guys it can only see that 4070, just to make sure you guys understand, NVIDIA SMI, and we can only see that 4070. So the 4070 Ti Super is much faster than the 4060 Ti, so we're going to give the 4070 Ti to our inference, because we're going to be using inference more than say like generating images or anything like that. You could set it up however you guys want. I'm just showing you guys how to do it this way. So our local AI is all running and it's attached to that 4070. Let's go talk about ComfyUI a little bit. So ComfyUI is one of the favorite image generation and video generation software that is out there. You can obviously do this, you can do image and video generation through local AI, just not nearly as complicated as a workflow that you can set up through ComfyUI. There is whole entire communities around ComfyUI and ComfyUI workflows, so I'm not going to get into that a ton at all, but I'm going to show you guys how to get it up and running on your machine, and then you can go see those other videos and other instructionals to get your ComfyUI running the way that you want to. So we're going to go back to our code now, and I'm going to flip over to the ComfyUI compose file, and this one is defaulted to 0, so we don't even need to touch it. So that 4060 Ti will be what ComfyUI will use. So we're going to type make help. Just remember that. It'll always tell you all the commands that are in this make file. And in this case, we are just going to do a make ComfyUI-up. Now, if you don't have this on your machine, it's obviously going to pull down ComfyUI. It's going to start up. It's going to load up a bunch of default models. So we can do make ComfyUI logs. And you can see that it's cloning and starting up. This will actually take a little while. And once it does, we'll be able to hop over to the browser, hit your IP address at port 8188, and it will come up. So I'll let this fast forward until this is done cloning. This only happens the very first time, and you can see that it's loading the source over here. But once it does its first build and downloads all the models, then you'll be ready to get going. So we'll come back for that. Okay, now we can see that the logs are reporting that the server is up and running, and you can see that it even says right here, hey, your application is running on port 8188. Go ahead and open in browser. So that would be a forwarded port. If you're using VS Code with that SSH connection, that is just in case your node isn't exposed. You can always now come up here and see it from anywhere on your network. Directly. Okay, so this is the initial ComfyUI all set up with some base models, and it gives you a default template that you can just go ahead and run. You can see like this is an unsaved workflow. This is basically using a Flux one. It's, you know, it's even got a template in there that says build scenery, nature, glass, landscape, purple galaxy. Let's go ahead and just hit Q and let this one run. This should be running on that 4060. You can see the graphs up here doing that. Let's go ahead and flop over to our terminal just so that you guys can see that. And we'll do an NV top over here. And we can see that it's only running on that 4060, just like we said, using about, you know, just over 14 gigabytes on that 4060 Ti while it's generating this image. And you can kind of see that up there too. And there we go, we got our image back. A little blurry and stuff like that, but this is just so basic. Most of the time you really want to put in a very, very heavy prompt when you're doing image generation. So again, there's whole communities out here based on different workflows, different models, etc. for image generation and video generation. But now you have ComfyUI up and running on your own server. And for us, it's using that dedicated 4060 so that we could still be doing inference and everything else. So let's go ahead and move on just a little bit more. And just to show you guys, we've got Docker PS, and we can see that we've got the ComfyUI Mega Pack, and you can always go to their repo. I have it in the docs, I have it in the repo so that you can see this, but this Mega Pack is basically almost like the local AI all-in-one images where it comes preloaded with a bunch of stuff that you need just to get off the board and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. The next one I actually want to address with you guys is Open WebUI. So Open WebUI is a much more advanced chat system than what you would get just directly out of the local AI chat. Again, it's just extended. It allows you to chat with your own documents using local AI as a backend. You can set it up to do integrations like web searching for you, for agentic type things, but this allows you to host it again in your home lab or your local network, however you're trying to set these things up just to get started. So we're again going to go take a look at the Open WebUI. The compose file will look very, very similar. It will set itself up using the local AI network because local AI is our inference engine. So we're going to use that behind the scenes. And you can see that we're presetting a default to point Open WebUI at local AI to use it in place of OpenAI. So the other thing is also going to, again, create a volume in here just like ComfyUI. Remember, all that data will stay locally, so don't worry about it whatsoever. And then we'll go start this up and take a look at it. So again, let's just do what we have done before. So Open WebUI, dash up. And then if we look at our guide on port 3000, so we're going to just go right over and hit our server on port 3000. There we go. And the error is because we're unauthorized, because this is the first time we have set up Open WebUI on our machine. So let's go ahead and hit the Get Started button. My name is I can't spell RoboTF. Robot at RoboTF.ai. We're going to choose a password. I'm going to put in all dots, make it easy, and we're going to hit create an admin account. It's going to pop up some nice release notes for you, and we're just going to say, okay, let's go. So you can set this up with multiple users. If you come down here and just say, admin panel, you can come in here and manage all the different users. You can manage all the direct settings. You can see where the URL is. You can enable everything else, set up your document stores, what models you want to use for embedding. Again, I'm just whipping right over this, guys. This is just an intro to get these things up and running for you, and then you can go check it out all on your own. So let's just go ahead and create a new chat. You can see it's pulling all the models already from our local AI system behind the scenes. So you don't even have to set that up. Any model that you make available on local AI through the Models tab, where you can install them, will be available on Open WebUI. So let's just, again, hit GPT-4 and say, can you write a poem about AI engineers? And then we'll let that load up. And again, we can watch that. Let's hop over. And we can see that through local AI on the back end, it's using that 4070 down here now with the process of Llama.cpp to load that model up. And then once it's loaded up, it'll start responding to us in a much faster realm. So there we go. Now again, you could set this up. Ooh, there's an update. I'll have to go pull a newer image. You can set this up with all sorts of integrations for text-to-speech, speech-to-text, uploading your documents, and use it as a much more advanced chat system than what you'll get out of the local AI in general. So I suggest that you guys go check out their repo, check out this project. But here it goes. Now we've got local AI running. We've got image and video generation through ComfyUI. We have a great web-based chat system that is highly advanced that we can add for integrations. Let's go back and take a look at what we think should be next on our list. Now, I think where we're going to go is workflows and building out AI automations with no code. That's a big thing, right? People are big into no-code systems these days. So Flowise, what is Flowise? Flowise is one of my favorite projects out there, and it's basically a drag and drop UI system for building LLM-based apps very easily, including agentic workflows and agents. This project's been going on for the last couple of years. I've even actually contributed to this project specifically around trying to get local AI working perfectly, but it was really dumb. It was just adding creds for it because I've run my local AI with API keys everywhere. So let's go ahead and get this started. Flowise is a workflow system, so it also needs to track a lot of what it does. You can set it up to use like local databases and stuff. I like to use Postgres. So in our case, we are going to go back and we have a Postgres compose up here. And this, all it does is basically starts up Postgres and then creates a database for not only Flowise, but it also creates a database for n8n. So n8n, as we just looked at, Flowise is again a near no-code workflow automation system for building out LLM-based workflows and automations. So Flowise and n8n are very similar to each other, yet they both have their own ways of doing things and their own pros and cons. Let's just say it that way. But this will give you both Flowise and n8n to be able to work with using local AI on your server. No API keys, no tokens that you're sending through OpenAI. You're not racking up all those bills. You're doing all of this locally. So we have Postgres. I have it set up in the make file to always start up Postgres before you start up Flowise or n8n. But let's go ahead and start it up just like we would do anything else. Make Postgres -up. Again, if you don't have this on your local machine, it will need to pull it down or pull the Docker image down first before starting it up. When it starts up, it creates those two databases, one for Flowise and one for n8n, so you don't even have to worry about Postgres running behind it. Then let's do the same thing for Flowise. Flowise up. Flowise also has a ton of different environment and variables. Let me grab it and bring it over here that you can go through and set. These are all pre-set up to work with this space stack, but again, you can change your volume mounts, etc. Anything that you need to do, just like anything else, it's adding its own data source folder that it can use over here. And then, just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and bring up n8n also. Make n8n up. And then we have those two workflow-based systems, right? Flowise and n8n. So let's go take a look at those. Port 3001 and port 5678. So 10.1.1.245, 3001. So this is Flowise. Now Flowise again is meant to build out chat flows or agent flows or build out assistants. You can come and take a look at its marketplace. It has a ton of different community templates, but basically you can use this to build out RAG-based systems without writing any code and then allow it to embed itself in, say, other websites or API calls or however you want to access it to run these workflows for you. Go look at all of the docs for Flowise. Go take some tutorials. It'll help you set up. But you can literally come in here and basically just pick one. And anywhere that it has OpenAI sources, you can just change it out for local AI sources. If you need to add API keys for say local AI or anything else that you're running, you would add it here. And then you can build out different tools, different assistants, different chat flows, agent flows, all of that. Let's go ahead and build one out, a very quick one, just so that you guys can see how to do this with local AI in the background. Okay, that leads us to two more things in this stack that I wanted to mention, which is ChromaDB and Unstructured API, and what these two components actually are, and why I've added them into this stack to make it easy on you guys. So Chroma, what is Chroma? Chroma is an open source AI and LLM first application database. Basically, it was built for AI and LLMs. It's good for storing embeddings in the metadata, doing vector search or full text search, or storing documents and doing metadata filtering, and even multimodal retrieval. This is just one. There's lots of competitors out there to Chroma, but this is just one that I've used in my stack, so I'm throwing it in for you guys to use. And then the other one is Unstructured API. So this is another project that I really like. And Unstructured is basically used for pre-processing documents. So like if you're loading documents that happen to be very unstructured, Unstructured makes it very easy to load these type of documents up into your pipelines and then chunk them into embeddings and store them in Chroma so that you can retrieve them very fast. So that is exactly what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you this one very fast just so that you know how to integrate all of these different components. So we need to go start it back up. So let's go, and we're going to do our normal make unstructured up. So that will start up the unstructured API behind the scenes and allow us to hit it and use it in our workflows in Flowise or n8n. Let's also go ahead and bring up Chroma. So make Chroma up. So that will start up Chroma DB behind the scenes and allow us to store those embeddings in our vector store, etc., to make retrieving that information very fast. This will be, again, used in AI workflows just as you're starting to learn this. So let's go ahead and go back and go to our Flowise. We'll go to chat flows, and we're just going to create a very quick new one and let you guys use each one of these components locally and know how to set them up. So we're going to go ahead and hit add new. And we have an untitled chat flow here. You can also do agents and agent workflows in Flowise, but we're just going to do a very quick chat flow. The first thing that we want to actually do is add our chat models, and you can see that you can hit the add nodes over here and use either LangChain or Llama Index or choose from other utilities. In this case, we're just going to use LangChain. We're going to do chat models, and then if you scroll down, you will find Chat Local AI, which is specifically meant for working with your local AI server. So we can just type in http://local AI port 8080, and the local AI is how Docker references it on our server, and then /v1 to hit the API. Now, whatever model we're going to use, remember that's going to come from our local AI, and this time, since we installed Mistral 7b Instruct, we're going to go ahead and use that one. If you set an API key, you can add your credentials here. We're just going to paste in the model name. All right, so now we have our chat model. Let's go ahead and add in an embeddings model. And if you're not familiar with that, that's just a good way of chunking up information and storing it so that AI and LLMs can actually use it. And you can always search up here. So we can even say local AI. And there's the local AI embeddings. And again, we will do the exact same thing. HTTP local AI 8080 v1, and we will paste in that exact same model. Most newer models can do embeddings themselves where you don't need a dedicated embeddings model like we used to have. So that sets up our local AI that we know of behind the scenes. The next thing is we're going to want to talk to a document, and we're going to do like a Q&A. So we're going to grab the conversational retrieval QA chain document here. Again, this is all just drag and drop. We're going to connect in our chat model. And then we're also going to scoot this over. And then the vector store retriever that we had talked about, that's actually going to be ChromaDB. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll go look at the vector stores. We can just search for Chroma. Drag and drop Chroma over here. And we can add in just, we'll say readme for the collection name. This is to make any of your stuff independent, and then we're going to do http colon chromadb on port 8000. And again, this is how Docker references it on our server. Now let's go ahead and connect that up. So that's our vector store retriever. And don't worry if this doesn't make any sense. I'm just showing you how to plug in all of your independent components behind the scenes. And then we're going to connect our embeddings model over here. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to load up a file and talk to that file as if it is memory for the LLM. So that's where unstructured is going to come into. So I'm just going to search for unstructured, which is a document loader. Add that over here. Connect it with the document. Now you can see it gives you a general idea of what your URL is going to look like, and it's going to have that general /v0/general on it. So just make sure that you grab that. And in our case, we're going to use the Docker reference. So that's going to be http://unstructured API on port 8003, and then general/v0/general. Make sure you get that set correctly. Again, we don't need credentials for any of these because we didn't set them up locally because we didn't need it, which makes it all nice and easy. And then that is our document loader. So from here, we're just going to upload a file. Let's choose the README for this repo. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. We're going to say RoboTF README. And then this is actually going to upsert the vector database. So basically it's going to upload your file that is all chunked up through the embeddings model on your machine, which is going to be Mistral 7B, and store it in Chroma before we actually even answer anything. So I'm going to turn on return source documents just so you guys can see that. We'll hit upsert. And you could go watch the logs on all of your different containers, Flowise, Chroma, and see what it did, but see how fast it was. So unstructured came back, chunked all of that up, the README for this, in a way that it thinks it should do. We're going to go ahead and hit close, and let's just go ahead and ask it a question. See how well it does with that README that we put up there with Mistral 7B. Can you tell me about this project? Perfect. Calling out different details from the README. How to run local AI. Perfect. Telling you the instructions. So there we go. That was a real basic setup of using all those different components for Flowise. We have local AI running on our server. We have unstructured API running on our server. We have ChromaDB storing all of the embeddings. And we've got Flowise able to run these different types of workflows, and you can set up agents and everything. I highly encourage you to go check out Flowise, its documentation, a bunch of different tutorials, see what it can do for you in these no-code situations. And then if you ever wanted to expose this workflow, you have a Flowise server, which you can then go embed it, and it just gives you the code that you need to do. And that's it. Now, I know that was a lot, but let's go take a quick look at n8n and see what that looks like, because we did start that up also. Let's hop over to the n8n install, 10.1, whoa, and it's going to be port 5678, just because that's what we set it at. And this is the first time you're signing in to your own personal n8n, so let's go ahead and get your user set up. Choose a password, all dots as normal. Hit next, and then you're in your n8n workflow. So this is going to be very, very similar to Flowise and how you set up things and do different automations I'm not going to go through it because my main thing was to show you how to set up those different components in Flowise. It's all very similar in n8n, but one of the big things I will do to show you is how to connect it to your local AI. So if we go to credentials, add credentials, say OpenAI, hit continue. We don't need an API key, we don't need an organization. What we need to do is change this URL to our typical HTTP local AI 8080/v1. n8n will use local AI just like it does Open API. Hit save. If it does throw an error at you, just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't matter unless you've set API keys on the local AI side. Connection tested successfully. X out of there. And then you could go into base workflows, and they also have their own templates that you can come look at on their site and take a look at them, creating API endpoints, sending stuff to Slack or other integrations and everything. So this is also something to come check out and build your own automations and RAG with n8n and Flowise and just get started in this world, because this world of agents is where everything is going. So let's go back to n8n and cover again what we've gone through with absolutely everything. So we have local AI up and running as our inference engine. We can install models here, we can run it as an API endpoint, and we can talk to a chat here. We have ComfyUI up and running to where we can run video and text generation. We have Open WebUI for a shared WebUI service that can use local AI as the back end. We've got Flowise up that allows us to build workflows and automations. We also have n8n up where we can go and do the exact same thing but in much different ways, and both of these products are great. So go look at them. They can do different things. They can do the same thing. I'm not going to go into everything they can each do, but you've got it up and running on your machines now. You've got ChromaDB to act as a database for storing vectors. And you have unstructured for working with files and not having to worry about formatting and getting them structured in a way that an AI or LLM can use them. There's tons more tools out there, guys, tons more. But let's follow up and make sure that you know that there's also a make all up, which will just bring up absolutely everything in this stack. And there's also a make all down, which will just tear everything down for you. I hope you guys are learning a bunch from this and getting your own home AI system set up to where you can do anything that you can think of. If you like this and dealt with my kind of sick voice, and I apologize for that, that's what took so long for part 3 to get out. I'm feeling much better, but voice is still not coming back yet. Please give me a like or a subscribe if you're new to this channel. And remember, at all points in time, don't forget to buy your AI a pizza, because look how much it can do for you. Until next time, see you guys later. One more quick thing. We talked about using code completion inside VS Code, much like GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT or anything like that. You can use continue.dev inside VS Code. It's an extension that you can install that we talked about earlier if you just look for continue. I already have it installed, but all you need to do is once it's installed, come up here and you can hit configure by going to your settings and open up your config.json, and then it's going to look just like this. You're going to put in the title of the model from your local AI instance, the same model. Don't worry about it. Put in your API base. This is going to be your server address at 8080. If there's an API key, don't worry about it, or just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. Save it. And then you can come up here and say, hi, my name is RoboTF. And there we go, it responds to us. So you have direct AI integration inside VS Code. Continue.dev allows you to work with your code and do code completion. So you can even add this to your context, add highlighted code to context, but you would add it over here, and then you can add questions to it. You can open up a new file and hit Command I and just start describing what you want, and it will write out the code for you. Explain what this does. Or right click and say continue, and use prompts like fix this code, optimize this code, write a docstring, or write comments for this code. You can add in all sorts of your own prompts in there and let it go. So this is just another way to integrate your home local AI system for your coding. All right, see you guys next time.